Hey everybody, my name is Neilio and welcome back to this next episode of Cities Skylines. As always, I have a nice cup of coffee here to get me going for this episode. So we're just going to jump straight into it today. We're going to be working on a series of car dealerships. I think it's Toyota, Audi and BMWs are the props and assets that we have for this one as well. So this is coming back to the main city, just kind of working on the foundations for this new area. So it's an area that's been sort of empty for a while now, and I was been eyeing this place off for a car dealership. I sort of decided pretty early on that that's what it would be, and it was just a matter of coming back to it and actually designing the car dealerships. So it was a lot of fun to do this one, and it turned out really nicely as well. Quite a lot of props involved, quite a lot of decals, and definitely making use of the asphalt mod that we currently have as well. I am also doing this half of this after the update, so that was good that I didn't have to wait too long for things to work. In fact, I didn't really have any issues after the update, but I did start a few days after it started, so there may have been some problems, but they were definitely fixed before I just started back up again as well. So it did take a while to get this one out. I had some issues with some footage. I actually had a bit of lost footage in the last area, so I sort of added some more just to make up the time as well. So as well as the car dealerships, we also add in a little sort of office building where you might have maybe workers or more sort of office type things for the actual car dealerships, maybe like a registration office or a transport office. And then they actually work on just a nice little cafe towards the left of these ones, just because it was a bit empty and I kind of wanted to fill in that space as well. So you'll notice that there'll be a bit of a space on the left hand side that we come back later on and fill up and sort of add some stuff in there as well. So right now we're just getting the structure of this car dealership sorted out, just trying to figure out where all the cars are going to be parked, all the different sections of this particular car dealership. I think we're working on I think it's a Toyota one at the moment, because we've got the pickups there as well, the Hiluxes or whatever they're called. Now what's really cool, as you can see here, is with the new the prop snap tool, I think it is, you can actually like raise props off the ground without it being affected. So I figured I could use like some planters to kind of make like a base that the cars could sit on, so like the sort of cars that you see elevated as their sort of main show cars. So that was really cool that we could do that. I've done that a few times because it's quite a nice little feature to add out the front of each of the dealerships as well. So a lot of it is just a lot of placing down these cars, just trying to sort them out, get them lined up, make sure they're not too uniformed, add a bit of sort of variety as well, and just filling out these areas, getting all the sections sorted out, adding some nice curves as well. I suppose I didn't want to make this one too not straight but too edgy, I suppose. So it's nice to have these sort of sweeping curves that kind of come around and match the nearby road as well. So that was really cool. And to basically doing now is sectioning off this different areas of the dealership, just trying to get the basic layout and structure for how these are all going to look, and then we're going to start putting all the cars in and trying to segregate as many different sections as we can, while still making it sort of easy for these cars to sort of move in and out of this showroom, not double park too many cars. I know you do see it a little bit in some dealerships, but this one I kind of want to avoid it as much as possible, but also trying to have a lot of cars in there to make it feel like a really full sort of car dealership. So I sort of make use of sort of the copy and paste method for Move It, so that I can sort of really fill these up and make them look like a nice full stock sort of car dealership with plenty of cars and utes and stuff like that for each different one that we do as well. Of course, adding in some of the sales signs that you would commonly see outside these places. I don't think there's ever not these sort of sale signs or little banners that you have on car dealerships. I also cut out the plumbing of the asphalt because, in fact, I do this for a lot of the all three of the car dealerships because there's a lot of asphalt that goes down. So it took quite a while and doesn't really sort of make for very interesting content, but there's a lot of asphalt for each one. But it ends up looking, really good to have sort of these little custom driveways and sort of asphalt areas for all the different cars and even the loading zones, which is what we're actually about to get onto very soon. We start doing the loading zone of a different car dealership. So this is a Toyota one, then we move on to what I believe is the BMW one, where we sort of get into some more detail work with like line work and stuff like that, which is something that I really enjoy a lot. You'll notice that when I do that, I do use different asphalt because these ones won't let you put decals on them, but the darker ones will. So I've currently got the ones I used before, and then you can see I'm sort of swapping them out so I can put down my line markings for each of the loading zones for the BMW one as well. So yeah, just sort of trying to find these areas where you would sort of have cars delivered. They might be sort of stored temporarily in the garage just to kind of check, make sure that they're all fine. I'm sure there's service checks that need to be done before these cars go out. I'm not 100%, I'm just sort of assuming here. And then from there they'd probably sort of move them out onto the actual sort of show floor outside to be on display. And you'd probably have cars that would also stay inside in sort of like a more interior based sort of showroom area like that. Just adding some of the forklifts for maybe getting some of the cars off in or not necessarily cars, but more like supplies for cars, like maybe tires and sort of other things that they may need to sort of have imported in as well. And then just sort of placing a couple of different trucks, one of them being an actual truck or trailer with sort of cars on the back of it as well. So it's kind of just sort of parked there waiting for the other truck to move and waiting for some space to start putting down the cars and getting them ready to be sold. I figured it'd be nice to have sort of these little light sticks because I sort of got blue and white colours, which is similar to the sort of BMW colours. So I thought I would sort of make use of that because it was sort of lending itself well to that sort of thing. So here we're doing like a little back street kind of construction work. So when I was plopping down some sort of bounding fences for each of the car dealerships, I thought it'd be really cool to have a little kind of like a back alley sort of access way that cars might sort of drive in. So we sort of put in like a paved road, and then we sort of put in some tire tracks and sort of grit and dirt and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a rear access way that maybe used by perhaps if a truck needs to turn around, or just sort of a general alleyway that isn't necessarily belonging to the car dealerships, but just sort of one that was there before they may have developed that area. And then also trying to sort of, this is kind of like a nicer area of the city. We do have like nice apartments on the other side of the street here. So with the car dealerships being here, I didn't want it to be too concrete, and I really wanted to sort of put a lot more grass and trees in this area just to kind of neaten it up and make it look less sort of concreted, because when you got sort of people coming into a car dealership, they don't really want to, they want to enjoy their time and their experience in the area, which is probably going to make them more likely to buy something because they'll be sort of feeling a bit more happier than if they were just sort of like this bland sort of concrete slab area where nothing's really happening. So I'll try to put a lot of trees in just to sort of make it look more natural, so that people would sort of enjoy being in that particular area of the city. And then we're just sort of finishing off that back area, putting some tire tracks and some nice puddles, and sort of putting some of the construction things in there just to detail that off a bit. I'll probably do some more detailing on it later. In fact, I do come back to it, just sort of putting a bit of trash and stuff kind of underneath the highway that's next to it, as you might sort of find bits and pieces there that might have been discarded or perhaps maybe dumped illegally, and the council hasn't really gotten around to picking it up just yet as well. But now we should be moving on to, oh no, so I'm doing the front part of the BMW area, so just sort of putting the actual sign there, just detailing the front, making it look a bit nicer as well. And then from there I'll probably move on to the next car dealership, which is, I believe it's Audi, it's the last one I do for the car dealerships. So now we're coming on to, it's not actually Audi, it's actually Ford. I think I do have an Audi one, but I couldn't find it at the time. So it's going to be the Ford one instead. And so this one, trying to make this one a little bit different than the others, so sort of splitting up the different areas a bit differently, making more of a divide between like one side versus the other, so it's more of a driveway, more of an entrance that kind of comes through the middle of everything. And then sort of onto the rest of the car dealership, making heavy use of the plans, just kind of sorting out the boundaries and the entrances, and kind of making more of a curved entrance, which just to make it a little bit more grandeur to the other ones as well. So it makes a bit more of an impactful entranceway, and then just trying to figure out where all the driveways are going to be, where all the loading zones are going to be, and then where all the different cars are going to be set up on their display, and then sort of segregating all those areas into something that makes sense. And here we are, just getting started on one of the loading zones. I actually do some more at the back. This is kind of like a small loading zone, and just around the corner to the left there's sort of going to be actual proper bays, sort of like numbered bays for each loading zone. So just putting in the general sort of the lines, the markings, the sort of crash poles, I guess. I don't know what they call them. They are bloods, but like it's the ones that they had there to make sure that the trucks don't, accidentally sort of run into the side of the wall. So they'll sort of hit that first, and then know that they need to stop before they actually run into the building as well. So this one is the bays I was talking about. Again, you can see there's a lot of asphalt that needs to be placed down to cover up the concrete, because it's not really a pavement area, it's more just asphalt and all that sort of stuff. So getting onto these bays, just getting the line marking set up. I need to make sure that I've given enough room so the trucks can kind of turn around and come in without sort of hitting the curb, so that's why this one's going to be a little bit wider. And then just to number them, I just actually, instead of using numbers, because I didn't really have any, I just used like the short yellow line, just to put like 1, 2 and 3 to sort of signify the different bay numbers, which I thought was a kind of a clever way to get around not having actual numbers, just sort of using essentially Roman numerals to sort of dictate what the bay numbers, where the bay numbers are, and so people know which bays to go into, because I'd imagine they'd be pretty important to know what bay you're going to, so that if there's sort of scheduled deliveries, they're not going to sort of get in each other's way. And then here we're sort of grabbing all the different cars. So see, I've got a normal sedan, and then the sort of the Ford Transit models, which I believe I've got in there, and just kind of placing all the different ones down, trying to, again, making it feel full but not putting them too close together so it's not too cluttered. And then sort of working on the bounding area, so putting some nice hedges in around the side of this area, and then sort of working its way into something smaller. So here we're just kind of making a side area where so people can sort of gain access to the front of the building, where there's sort of more dedicated parking spots for, I guess, visitors and people that were there to sort of have a look at the cars and are interested in buying something as well. And here I thought I'd put in like a bit of a display out the front, because there was a bit of room there and it was quite bare. So I sort of added some of the different cars, and I'll come back and sort of add little areas and garden beds just to kind of make it look a bit nicer and a bit more interesting when you sort of come into the dealership to sort of have purchased a particular car as well. and then just adding some other details like little puddles and stuff like that. I use those puddles a lot, but it's there's something about those puddles just really gives it a nice look. I don't know why, just seems to do it for me, which is really good. Sort of another thing to add, I guess, in sort of detailing and texturing without just sort of defaulting to do it, which is quite nice. But also because I was thinking that you've got these 3 bays here, so it might be somewhere where you would sort of clean the cars before you sort of take them out onto the showroom to be displayed as well, which makes sense because you obviously want nice looking cars and people actually want to purchase them as well. And then here we're sort of working on the front area that I was talking about, getting this looking done up nicely, and sort of try to add different textured areas just to sort of add a place for people to walk, and then sort of the area where all the cars are being positioned. And I sort of thought I'd go with a sort of stony sort of cobblestone texture. I thought that sort of worked really nice as well. And then we'll sort of add some fences here and add some garden beds to sort of make it safe so that people aren't going to be too close to the road as well, but also so that people can't park in front of the dealership as well. And then it's sort of putting in these the sale signs and then sort of adding in the nice foliage and stuff like that as well. And it's really good to be able to lower these pot planters so that you don't have like trunks going through the wall, so it's really good as well. And then we sort of, again, sticking with the theme, making it consistent, we sort of add some nice palm trees on the sidewalk, as I've done in other episodes in other areas, like the residential area that we did last time, just to keep it nice and consistent. And here we sort of starting to detail the loading bay, putting all our props in, making it look nice and busy, like there's lots of activity going on, and sort of adjusting the little lanes there, because you can see the cars are going through the actual truck, which is not what I want. But it is nice to sort of have this road being used so that it actually looks like there's an activity going on in the dealership, and it's not just sort of like an unused space as well, which is really cool. So you can sort of see people walking along it and cars going through, so it looks really good because it makes it look like there's sort of like workers and staff kind of walking around the dealership and sort of checking things, and I guess checking shipments and stuff like that. So it's really cool. So I was quite happy sort of discovering that, and sort of definitely like to keep these people sort of around there and keep the activity going as well. Again, just putting these fences down for this dealership area. So now we're coming into the other section of this car dealership. And of course, wouldn't be much of a good positioning for a car dealership if it wasn't near a petrol station. Obviously, so people can fill up their cars if it's being if the staff can fill up the cars when they need to, because obviously people are going to go for test drives, so they need to have pretty quick access to a petrol station so they can quickly fill it up, especially if they've got a tight schedule as well. But it's also probably just a good idea to have a car dealership near a petrol station, or vice versa. So working on this again, just kind of making like a little sort of custom laneway that I sort of use custom markings. And it was quite fun to do actually, sort of using the paved roads, then kind of adding your own asphalt and line markings and sort of curves and stuff like that. And it worked out really well, especially with these sort of slightly curved junction as well. And then here we're sort of adding in the office sort of block that I was talking about, which could be like maybe not like a transport office, but maybe like a office for the workers, or like a sort of like a registration office for people with their cars or something like that. And then here we just sort of kind of section off these areas a little bit, and then sort of plop down some custom sidewalks, so you can see here, and then sort of use that to sort of follow the road and sort of patch up the pavement texture, just to sort of make it a little bit different, have a sort of a nicer texture in this kind of area, because as you would in a car dealership, you sort of wouldn't have that sort of cross-hatched pattern. You'd have more like a sandstone-y kind of pebble sort of texture, is kind of what I'm thinking. So I sort of go ahead and add that in, and then sort of add in the sort of areas where people can sit down and sort of take a break, you know, have a lunch break and stuff like that, with some nice sort of tables and sort of trees for shade and stuff like that as well. So you can see I'm just plopping them down there, using a slightly newer tree. Now I know it's never a good idea to add too many new trees, but it's one that a little different. They're kind of like pine, so it's not too bad. They're not the trees I use very often as well. So that works out pretty well, just to add a bit more variation to the fauna, or flora. Sorry, not fauna. There's no animals there, I don't think. And so here we're just sort of adding some final touches on the BMW dealership, so just adding that front area that I mentioned before, and sort of swapping around some of the pavement options and stuff like that, and just sort of all these little finer touches and final details on those dealerships. And then here I thought it'd be nice to add a bit of a slip lane, so just to distribute the traffic a little bit better, but also this area, like, it looked like an interesting place to have a nice slip lane. And then I sort of come back and add some nice, well, actually no, I'm doing it now, I'm adding some nice sort of like centre garden kind of design. So I put like a trio of trees with different heights, and then sort of put some bushes around it, and kind of use that as a set piece to sort of repeat a couple of times in this particular area. Again, just kind of playing around with different trees, but I eventually just sort of settled for the pine, because that was sort of the most suited. I was looking at the new ones from the expansion pack, but they didn't sort of really sit too well. They didn't sort of suit the theme of the city. At least they're not in this part. I think maybe when I do the botanical gardens, I can sort of get away with having some more foreign type trees, but for now we're just sort of sticking with the pines and sort of repeating this set piece a couple of times. So I was trying to figure out what to do with this place. I thought, well, I'll start putting down some pretty sort of generic stuff, and then I thought this would be a great spot for a nice cafe. Like, if you sort of in the market for a car, you might want to stop and have a break and sort of come here and sort of have some food and stuff like that as well. So I thought that would be a really good spot for it. So I plopped that down and sort of started to detail it up. Again, trying to make it pretty sort of being quite generous with the floral and trees and stuff like that, to sort of make it kind of make it feel a bit more cut off from the city, so the trees can sort of dampen the sound a little bit. So the whole thing's going to be surrounded by I believe it's surrounded by like trees and bushes and stuff like that as well. Here we're just sort of getting the car park sorted out, getting the trash sort of thing organised, and sort of using the angles of the building to sort of dictate where walls might go as well. And I thought that was quite interesting, very minor thing, but just a little bit better than just sort of a generic kind of square as well for that particular area. And then sort of plopping down a lot of seats and sort of figuring out where this cafe is going to sit in terms of its boundaries, and sort of adding in the tables and chairs, and adding in some nice shaded umbrellas as well, just so that you're not in the sun. And then adding a couple of different entrances, and just sort of making use with the area as it sort of comes to pass, like when sort of new ideas pop up, and so there's a gap there which I use as an entrance, and then I sort of thought here could be a good spot for a garden bed, and to sort of start adding in the different trees and things like that as well. Of course, putting the nice open signs that we have for cafes, or I don't think it's an open sign, I think it's actually just a cafe sign or something to that extent. And then of course we're adding in all these nice trees and sort of working on these garden beds, just to sort of make the surrounding area a bit more pedestrian friendly, a bit nicer, because we've got this really large concrete area that I want to sort of add a bit more interest to, so it's not just like a plain concreted area, because I've been to places like that. Actually, Brisbane has a lot of places like that where it's just one large open concrete area with some weird structures. And it doesn't really feel like a very nice place to be. There's not many trees, and so I figured it'd be nice to sort of mix things up and sort of put a couple of ways around the area, have some nice trees in the middle, just to sort of change it up and make it a bit more varied, instead of just having, you know, just at one sort of slab of concrete areas, and you know, instead of just to try and make something more interesting is what I'm trying to say in a nutshell without blathering on. And then again, just coming back here and sort of getting rid of the old default roads and kind of making my own. It just sort of seems to work better with little laneways and sort of car parks like that, because when you sort of want to add in your own custom markings, and it makes it easier to work with them and to add them in versus sort of trying to attach, you know, car parks to an already existing road as well. And again, of course, just adding in our trash options so that people aren't gonna litter anywhere, and sort of keep the place nice and clean for that area. But we're almost done for this episode. It's just quite literally, it's just adding in sort of some of the final touches. There's obviously room towards the left there, so I'll probably do that off camera and just kind of fill in that space, and then you'll sort of obviously see some cinematics of the end result of everything. I'll probably touch up a few things here and there in the like the petrol station and the car dealerships, but that is everything for this episode. I know it's been a little while. I sort of struggled to find time to sort of get around to recording all this, but as always, my name is Neil. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. See ya.